begun.
Well, thank you all so much for coming out here today. We're really excited.
Yes.
Excited. Yeah, so we're hoping to, I'm going to try to leave plenty of time for Q&A, but I want to ask a couple of questions of you guys first off, just to see where we are.
Have you seen the show?
Yeah, that was actually the first question.
Wait, what show?
Lizzie Bennet Diaries? Like,
Seen it? Yes.
Thanks
so
for
happy.
watching. Yeah, only after like episode 60.
Well, the guy never showed up, so I'm done with this.
And the other question is, are any of you all, have you made your own like web new media, thought about making your own web new media, currently making your own web new media?
Raise your hands high and proud.
That is excellent, because we have a great variety of people here today. We have behind the scenes people, we have in front of the scenes people, we have people who may actually have been scenery.
I played, my first role was a fighting tree in Wizard of Oz.
I was going to say your first role on the show was your torso. But starting out, I'm going to quickly introduce our panel. My name is Margaret Dunlap. I am going to attempt to wrangle and moderate this panel today. I'm a writer and co-executive producer of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, also co-creator of Welcome to Sanditon and occasional writer on Emma Approved. Down here, all the way at this end of the table, we have Rachel Kiley, writer, and she doesn't like to admit it, but she did have a producer title on the show as well. Next to her is Mary Kate Wiles, known as the Lydia Bennet. Ashley Clements, Lizzie Bennet herself. Daniel Vincent Gord, aka Mr. Darcy. So that was good. Yeah, it wasn't like a Mr. Collins situation. We have Jenny Powell, our producer, casting director, caterer, craft services, digital imaging technology. Am I leaving anything out?
Mrs. Bennet?
Mrs. Bennet. Kate Rorick, also known as Kate Noble, writer for the show, also a producer, and am I allowed to talk about the other stuff you're doing? Also wrote for Welcome to Sanditon, Emma Approved, and Emmy Approved. And writer of the novelization of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, which will be forthcoming next year. That's what we're told. And finally, at the end of the table, we have Jay Bushman, Transmedia producer. He invented the title and he did it well. Two-time Emmy Award winning Jay Bushman. So I want to make sure everybody had a chance to talk, so I was going to start out asking each one of these guys a couple of questions so you could get to know them and what they did, and then we're going to open up the floor for your questions. That work for everyone?
Works for me, Margaret. Gee golly, great.
Yay! It's not actually a democracy, that's just what we're doing. I don't have a backup plan. But I did want to start, Jenny, like, the list of titles that you had on this show, like, what, I think this comes from the fact that we were purely indie production. All of us, you know, some of us had worked in web before or in traditional media, but, you know, we aren't a YouTube partner network. We didn't have a multi-channel network when we started out. It was just, we made videos and put them up on YouTube the way anyone could. So you were very early involved in this project. You want to talk sort of about how things got off the ground or how you started?
So I knew both Bernie and Hank separately of each other for many years before this came along, and Hank had actually been talking to me about the idea of doing a novelization on the web probably 2 to 3 years before we actually got to the point of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. He originally wanted to do the Diary of Anne Frank. That wasn't gonna work. So once we figured out that definitely wasn't going to work, I was like, well, I think the idea is absolutely sound. We just have to figure out what that book is. And then independently of that, Bernie and Hank met at a YouTube gathering at a YouTube event and started talking to each other about this idea. And by that point, Hank had kind of jumped on Pride and Prejudice at the suggestion of his wife, because it was her favorite novel. She's like, hey, it'd be perfect. And he went, oh my gosh, it would be. And then so asking, when he was talking to Bernie, the one thing that Hank and I were missing is that neither one of us are writers. And so we really needed that person that could help from that creative side. I knew I could put it together once we had something, but we needed that person. And Bernie was perfect. And I'd been wanting to work with Bernie for a long time. And then he and Hank met, and they both went, well, Jenny Powell's involved. And they're like, great, let's do it. So the three of us just started running with it. And the first thing we had to do was cast our roles. And instead of hiring a casting director, I went, we don't have money, so I will do it. I've cast pretty much every show I've been a part of. It's part of the process that I really enjoy. So I just went, let's start doing this. And we started bringing in some ladies.
Thank you for the beautiful segue. It's like we rehearsed this. We totally didn't. But yeah, and which led us to casting Ashley as Lizzie Bennet. And I think you were the only cast member who was there for every main series shoot, which was 12 shoot days, because we shot a month worth of content every day that we shot.
We didn't shoot very many Lizzie Bennet Diaries without Lizzie.
No, we gave you like, yeah, we gave you like 45 minutes off occasionally, but that was about all that you got. So do you want to talk about that? Like, how was it coming into, getting the role, or, taking on the challenge of it's like, okay, and the whole show is you talking to the camera, go.
In a very sort of fortunate way, I didn't realize what a big thing I was signing up for. I was like, yeah, cool, great. Like, this is going to be so much fun. And it wasn't until we were doing it that I was like, oh, like, I'm like all the time it's me talking. And so I never had to go through the horrible part of being super overwhelmed about it. I just did it and then went, holy crap, what are we doing? This is okay, cool. And I remember, my friends were asking me after the first day, they're like, how did it go? I was like, I have no idea. It was just a blur.
Well, if any of you know anything about traditional production, like in TV, a really big day, you're shooting 11 pages. We would routinely shoot 50-page days. Wow. And most of that is her.
11 is way too much already.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the format allowed us to, we just had to turn the camera on and make sure everything was well lit. I mean, there were a lot of things that were going on, but one of the things that slows down production a lot is when you're changing lighting and you're changing camera angles and you're moving things around. So yeah, I mean, basically, like, I would jump up and go change my clothes and maybe do something different with my hair and makeup and come down and sit back down and do the next episode. There'd be like 10 minutes between each episode. It would take about an hour or so to film each episode, depending on how difficult that episode was. Some came in at like 45 minutes, some took a little longer. Yeah, we would just sit down for 12 hours once a month and shoot a month's worth of episodes. That's, in case you didn't know, that's how we did the show. That's how we did the show. And,
the secret's out.
So, yeah, and another question that people ask me a lot is like, oh, how did you deal with the fact that you were playing like, an incarnation of one of the most famous female characters in all of literature? No pressure. Luckily, I didn't think that before we started. The first time I thought it was when somebody asked it to me, and we were like 3 months in at that point.
And then inertia could keep you going.
And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't stop now. I gotta finish this whole thing out. So yeah, I kind of fortunately never really psyched myself out as badly as I could have. And that's really, very much in large part to how warmly the show was received. When people like what you're doing, it's easy to keep doing it. So that's thanks to you guys.
Now, Mary Kate, little known fact that I hope you don't mind me sharing, but you originally read for Lizzie when you came in.
Yeah.
And then Jenny and Bernie were...
both.
You did both. Okay, I wasn't sure, so you didn't have to read Lydia Cole. No. But, so, are you sorry things worked out the way it did?
Absolutely not. Are you kidding? I'm sorry. I really like Lydia, and I mean, I think Ashley really likes Lizzie, and that's fine. And I don't want to switch.
You like it the way it is.
Also, I got to make out with Wes Adderholt, so I mean, like,
I had to make out with this guy. That's terrible.
You were also able to cast your cat.
I was, yeah. I was really looking for an opportunity to get her in the business, and it just presented itself.
That's why you moved out to LA.
Yeah, I really wanted my cat to,
Yeah.
to take off. She's very cute.
The theater training at USC was very helpful for her.
Yeah, absolutely. She actually,
She's a natural,
she
though.
attended classes. I just sat outside. I had to receive the degree, but it's her.
That's very nice of you.
What are we even doing?
Did you have a moment where you were like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? Because, you know, when it started out, it was just like this little web thing, and none of us had any idea.
That's what I was about to say, is like, none of us knew. Like, when I first read the scripts, I was like, this is really weird. We're dressing up as other people, like, what? And I was pretty sure that, like, because in my audition I had to do the scene where I'm being Bing and saying, you know, like all the man banana stuff. And I was just like,
welcome.
Thank you, Rachel. I was just like, this is so strange. Like, I don't think I'm doing this well, and I don't know. But then it happened, and everybody seemed to like it. So cool. Yeah, like it never occurred to me. I was just always like, okay, like I'm playing Lydia Bennet in this thing. Cool. Like I never expected. None of us ever expected it to become what it became by any means. I think me least of all. And didn't ever think that Lydia would become like so dear to me.
Yeah, I think Jay knew we were going to win an Emmy from, like, you know, the second story.
Jay came into it going,
Jay
"You're
is
gonna
very
win."
smart.
He was saying that very early on, and I was like, okay, Jay, sure, okay, sure. I mean, it's
Made it happen.
He was right.
So Rachel, Kylie, it all began with the man banana, didn't it?
I think it began with the first episode.
The first episode.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that's usually how it works.
Nothing matters until the man banana.
But thinking about
Nothing else ever matters.
your particular relationship to, because I mean, you crafted a lot of, you know, Lydia's character and Lydia's arc. You know, when we started out doing the Lydia vlogs, which, you know, began as a Jane and Lizzie are going off to Netherfield, and we don't know that we want to go for a month and not have Lydia on camera because people seem to really like her. Rachel, can you write some episodes that are Lydia with her camera? And
Yeah, I think it was
turned into a defining thing.
It was partially that, and partially Barney being like, I'm really tired of you emailing me about how we need to put Lydia in more stuff, so just go write this other thing that probably no one will watch.
Well, that plan worked out really well for him in that case.
And it never stops. Is that a question? Is there more?
Yeah, good job, Rachel.
It is a theme, if you'd like to speak more about it. Like, what was your favorite part about working on the show? Because you've done some web stuff before. Like, how was Lizzie Bennet different
Did you
than
enjoy
other projects?
any-
Or did you enjoy working on the Lizzie Bennet Diaries?
Well, I mean, I think as we've talked about before, like, really the shining star of everything has just been Rosie, and it was so great working with Mary Kate's cat. Like, I love that cat. I wish that every single part that I had written could have been for her. Like, no offense, guys. You're great. You're so great. You all bring your own thing to the show. So.
I think we're all super jealous we didn't get to write for the cat.
No, I mean, well. But yeah, no, I mean, it was obviously super fun getting to try something different. Like, I don't think that any of us had really written, or I think you guys acted in vlog stuff before. So it was a lot of like everyone trying to figure out, oh my God, how do we do this and not make it super repetitive? And that was always a fun challenge and whatnot.
Yeah, that was a big theme of those early story meetings. It was like you, me, and Bernie, and being like, so they're just going to talk to the camera and tell everybody about what just happened. It won't happen on screen, they'll just tell you about it. Yes. Tell, don't show, our motto with the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. So go forth and be successful with that one.
Don't.
Don't do it. All right,
At some point, you have to bring Darcy on camera.
Yes.
And other things, you have to show other things too.
Yeah.
I think you only have to show Darcy.
Highly disagree with you. Just the cat.
Let them look at
It's
you.
like I'm not even here.
Well, we can see your head, and we don't really recognize that as much as like the torso. So.
Can you stand up?
Can you just like stand upside down and like?
All right, I'm going to hand the microphone down. It's like he's not even. But like while we are sharing the dark underbelly of Lizzie Bennet here, if there was an award for a person who has read Pride and Prejudice the most times, it goes to Kate Rorick, who in her. What's your point, Margaret? Tell them about your alter ego.
Okay.
Yes, who, as Kate Noble, writes Regency romance novels. In fact, when Bernie approached me about this project, I was like, "Oh, have you talked to my friend Kate?" And he said, "Don't talk yourself out of a job." But we were able to bring her on. I think your first episode was episode 35.
Yep.
So, this is a really, you like the book a lot. Was it at all intimidating to adapt that to modern times with Kitty being a cat and Wes's abs and all of that?
Well, the thing is that I came on already in process. I came on for the month after Netherfield, so the train was already running. So I just sort of jumped on. But the Pride and Prejudice has been adapted 100 different times in dozens of different ways, and so its core story remains the same, and it remains as relevant to us as it did to its audience 200 years ago. So it's not that hard to adapt. It actually is rather pleasant, and I tend to be a bit of a purist. So the fact that I managed to enjoy this as much as I did, it's a good thing.
Yay! Now, we've been talking a lot about the videos, but the thing about Lizzie Bennet Diaries is it wasn't just twice a week we have a video. It's in between. All of the characters had Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts, and This Is My Jam, and OkCupid, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn still hasn't caught on that Mr. Collins isn't a real person. Tell them. I get recommendations. Do you know Mr. Collins at Collins & Collins? Better than you do. But Jay, so how do you set about creating, because we started out, we only cast 4 people. That's all we had. How did you set about creating actual people, characters that we were never seeing on camera, that we weren't sure we'd ever see on camera originally?
Well, the first thing is to, it's always a good impetus to that kind of stuff, to remember that video is expensive and text is really cheap. And so you can create a large portion of the world with, a little general text and more. It's very easy to create yourself characters and you can get yourself a little bit of trouble. I think we probably were guilty of that. I think we
How many platforms?
God, across 35 accounts, I don't know, 16 different platforms, but I could be wrong. Something like that. You can create, but yeah, you can start to just creating their large with a lot of the world sort of sit there and money with then less to shoot time. The down then is that what costs created those videos. Decide to keep to create those things and stuff, and you got to keep. And then that post become using the never ending. That can be a process.
Too modest to his business. Indeed, he has been called Jay is a poet of put this on cards, but really epic. Keep Twitter, waiting for the right project to come along. I think.
Apparently, yeah.
Just wait to come.
Segue.
Characters who existed on Twitter for quite a long time before they showed up on Twitter. So Daniel, we talking about Darcy for 58 episodes. He had been 50 episodes. He had tweeting other keys. Mostly just the tweet house.
Mostly just Twitter. Yeah.
Accounts, the Twitter. So here was it created this whole season, and just by the way, we had a person 200-year-old literary icon, romantic leader, at the point when you saw a breakdown, you say, "Man, I'm gonna go for this in spite of every single red flag that must go popping up."
You know what?
Don't get me wrong, I'm pretty glad you came in.
I actually had the really reaction.
But
My agent sent audition breakdown. I read it. He's okay. And I was like, how the character just some immediately start to make sense, which is also in good job, Jen, or whoever wrote that, because it was very like Jenny, it was very specific and thorough. It was very, and specific. I just was like, okay, and then yeah, you know, it got me into it brought, you know, doing the research on the show and doing what you guys said had mattered on all of the kind of characterization I said of him before, but he is this weird of romantic, you know, type that has existed for kind of a long time now, and now exists for and other stories too, you know, other kind of mystery type story. You know, there are always a case of see something like another, or their personality type. Like I was talking to one of my friends, a person she was talking about too, the things with her and her boyfriend. I was like, a certain character that I like it just sounds like not a character.
Signs you were dating
Before. You know, it's a real type of person too. But Austin was about a real person. Writing. Yeah, I never got intimidated to it. It's really it's by impediment. Such a to become intimidated by the work that I'm doing. So I think we all did a pretty good job of doing that, and I think it was also didn't really have the luxury of not doing it because we had too much. I think we had work to do.
56 pages.
We had too much. To work on, and I was thinking what you were saying about tech, and you were talking about not an idea of the impact of having of it because you're working on it. It's really true when you're just working on, but it's on these your work stories, scripts. Have a focus on these doing. You're like, okay, what you're thinking. The mic she says what you're to me. It's like one of my. It's like here analysis. It's this. You know, it's very text. It's into the mind of it. Such you're not like. What do people think about me? What's that you do this? I'm like, right, cool. Like, are they gonna like I do? You know, you're there. You're working on characters and what the characters want, and you're just here to dig in there. And a character, the real you kind of ends up being a action. You know what I mean? The surprise.
And you know, over 4 months had you auditioning, so it certainly gave relief to get used to the idea that we had before. It was a perfect time to process.
I had it. You know, I just like never until I got it. I was like, what are you talking about?
They didn't cast
when
6 weeks ago. What?
I swear about. I get this. They must have like someone else, and he said no. I didn't. They're like, we need someone else. Cast someone. Like that's what I know.
No.
It's male.
All right. Well, I think we have time to take questions. If you guys have questions, we want to answer some questions. Any questions?
I'm a darling. I can't see her, guys. I'm a darling. I have my skirt off, but
I'm naked.
I have my shirt off. I'll show you later.
I thought you were a transgender.
They're the original. My point with it was basically to all writers and everyone involved is I make all the series. So the question is how do you make the show so addictive? Because I was constantly saying one more episode, 6 hours. I was saying just for
honestly, being lost back 200 years ago, just Transmedia.
It's you know, we started with a really fantastic structure, and we did we created quite and we didn't. At the end of the day, people have been mostly the Jane Austen did. And when it story broke, don't
Also, they told a million different ways. It wouldn't have been this was the only way. That would
well, and to be fair, just the fact that we were coming from a material that was not proven to be that we were addictive, but source the vlogging was format it's very which is a background Hank came so that I had a way of experience there on that from something we really wanted to focus on, which was from everything we wanted to see before the show. Also had that team type. It's very intimate. It's very like you want to very into this person and get more involved. I mean, my dive experience in new media was watching hours and hours first of Philip DeFranken and watch. I just couldn't stop, and I go this and in this. Whatever happened, this is
have to be.
I mean, get a full writing staff. Also, I oversaw it of the Transmedia. I wrote a few episodes. I think I wrote 6, almost about 100 episodes, whatever episodes we did. So yeah, I feel like I am in a decent position to say. So there were some real writers on this position who wrote a lot of really great episodes. Staff.
Look, I'm going to tell you what they're, and that's that we actually discovered a visual form of heroin that you're watching every time you see Lizzie Bennet. Wednesday on
So also a lot of credit also goes to these guys for being so engaging on camera. If we didn't have Ashley and Maggie, they're the people that you're inviting into your screen.
you have to watch constantly. They're not that bad to look at.
Yeah, they're not bad. Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, I mean, one thing I'll just add is that Bernie and the whole team did a good job of just letting out little pieces of information slowly. And, there's a lot of teasing in the show. There's a lot of, it's not just Lizzie talking about her feelings about things. She's introducing part of a little thing that you're curious about but doesn't finish telling you. There's a lot of, there's a real slow drip of information.
I think that is so brilliant about it is that you heard about all of the characters before you saw any of them. I mean, obviously Darcy is the biggest example of that. I mean, you heard about Wickham, you heard about Collins. And each time you were like, ooh, who are these people? Caroline. We were all giving our, opinion.
You forgot about Mary.
We didn't hear about Mary before we saw her. We didn't. I don't know that happens a lot, and I think that was really smart. And I don't know if it was intentional or it was just we'll start with some actors and add more. But it's great.
And again, that sort of circles back to Jane Austen, because not everybody who watched the show is familiar with the book. If you were, then you had those milestones that you were waiting for. And it's are they going to put Lady Catherine on the screen? Or, all those sorts of things that give you that sort of draw on to the next episode. So, good question. No pressure for the next one.
Actually pick. Oh, I'm picking?
Yeah, I'm making you pick.
That's horrible.
From Mary Kate and Rick. What have you guys got planned for the future of Loosely Bolted?
Oh my God!
What's that?
No, really? Oh, it's this thing that we're doing. You don't know about it. Loosely Bolted is. I'm really happy that you asked. Thank you. It's a thing, and that's the joke is that I don't know what to call it. It's a YouTube channel thing where we make stuff. Hey! And as you may know, we're currently running an Indiegogo because we're hoping to get some better equipment because all we have are these. And we're trying to do our best with what we can do with those, but it's unfortunately not anywhere.
This is our tripod.
We're going to use that today.
Not joking.
So we're doing that, and we also have a Patreon page, which if you haven't checked Patreon out, I'm super into it. It's so neat where you can tip your favorite creators per each video they're doing, or each song or whatever. And it's just such a great way, and you get stuff in return, obviously, but it's such a great way to connect with your audience and also feel like you need to be putting out content because they are waiting on it, and also that you are gonna know that you're gonna have time to do that and be rewarded for that. It's so great. So we're doing those things, and
also besides just asking for money,
right, we're also doing real things. We've recently discovered that we really like doing short improvised musicals. Those are the best. Which is just Rachel turning on the phone and I go
yelling out a piece of TV show or movie.
And I start to sing about it.
Which is essentially the exact same thing as actually hanging out with her.
That's true. That's true.
So we're putting it to good use instead of just being God, Mary Kate, stop singing.
Yeah. And we're hanging